Good afternoon to all members of the committee. I'd like to call the hearing to order. We are on the final stretch, and I'd like to, at this time, call our final witness for the afternoon, for the day, I should say, the Honourable Frans Manderson, Deputy Governor. Mr. Manderson, welcome to the committee, and good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Mr. Manderson, the Auditor General's report states that the government first launched its e-government initiative in 2010 and acknowledges that significant progress has been made since then, with a number of government services now available online. That's a good news. Is good news. We understand that proposals are being developed for a new government-wide e-government, but it may take some time before a new strategy is in place. We also noted that in a number of responses to the recommendations, the e-government unit stated that it is not responsible and cannot enforce some issues. Some of these are cross-government issues, and others require a change in approach. We heard from the Director of e-Government and the previous and currently acting chief officers this morning. We all now want to hear from you about the high-level direction and leadership that's being provided, specifically actions that can be taken while we await a new strategy, and how some of the cross-government issues can be addressed. So with that statement, setting the tone and the direction in which the committee wishes to proceed this afternoon, I will open up the questioning to the members of the committee. We're looking first at the strategic direction and governance, and I'll call upon Mr. Rankin to lead that line of questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Mr. Manderson.
Good afternoon.
As the Chairman alluded to, we'd also had discussions with the other witnesses before you, sir, and it speaks about the Auditor General's report, which was highlighted a need for the e-government strategy aligned with good practices, and it cited United Nations guidance. We also understand that the e-government's unit and ministry plan to submit proposals to the cabinet in the fourth quarter, and they said that they are not going to meet that timeline now, but more like in the first quarter of 2023. We are therefore keen to establish what can be done in the meantime and get some of the assurances on the content of the new strategy going forward. So one of the first questions to you, sir, is do you know the reasons why the 2015 e-government strategy was never finalized?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Frans Manderson, Deputy Governor and Head of the Civil Service. So, Mr. Chairman, the member is correct. There was a e-government steering committee. There was, I think I chaired it. There was a e-government strategy that was being progressed. That there was a change in direction following the election. And it was decided that there would be a different focus. The government of the day was very keen to take forward e-government. They decided to do it in a slightly different way. So what then I think transpired is that the government also decided at that time that it was absolutely necessary for us to get our national ID. We wanted to make sure that our cybersecurity was at its highest. The government of the day invested a lot of money in making sure that our cybersecurity systems were state-of-the-art. There had been certain gaps in our cybersecurity. The reason why that was so important was because when we have a joined up e-government services, it means that if there's one service or one department or one agency where there is a link and someone infiltrates that link, then they get right into the entire government network. So there was a pause to say, before we continue to deal with e-government, to provide new services, let us make sure that our cybersecurity systems are state of the art. And I'm pleased to say that that investment did work, and I feel very comfortable today as to the state of our cybersecurity systems. However, what that translated to was that we paused some of the work that was being done on the strategy, and then we got into the national ID card, and those things took precedent. But the Auditor General, and I want to just say thanks to the Auditor General and her team. I think they have provided us with an excellent report that has lots of information that we can use going forward. However, it had been noted that we didn't stop with our e-government services. I think we launched 41 new services since 2015. So we have been working hard to ensure that we were responding to the public's outcry or demand for better services. So the government of the day did push hard to make sure that we were moving forward with our e-government services, but there also then was that gap that we wanted to fill on the cybersecurity side.
Thank you for that answer, sir. You said that the government of the day then changed focus from the strategy, but then how the e-government unit was still operating, so what defined the direction that they were going in then?
Right, absolutely. Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. So I'm sure Mr. Tibbetts may have told you that the e-government unit was a unit of one for a long time. It was just Mr. Tibbetts. So again, the government of the day decided to resource the unit, to give them some additional staffing to be able to build up their the team. So that was done. So services were happening. What the idea was, or the vision at the time, even when we did the strategy, I don't think that changed, was that a new service should not be introduced in the service without talking with the e-government unit. So the e-government unit was looked at, and still is, as the center of excellence for where we go for when we need advice around e-government. We have a really great team of dedicated professionals in that unit, led by Mr. Tibbetts. So the idea was, and I remember Cabinet, I think, actually given that instruction at the time, way back when, was that if you were going to launch new services, you had to talk with the government. And they would give you advice to say, well, you can get an off-the-shelf system to do this, what you want to do, or no, you're going to have to do a full new build, or this is something that computer services can do for you. So there would be a lot of consultation with the e-government unit to say how we should do things, how it should be done. And then they also talk to us about connectivity, making sure that we buy a system that can talk to the other systems that we have. So those things continued, but as the Auditor General says, there was a pause in the strategy, and we accept that. But we didn't, and certainly she highlighted things that we didn't do around costing and not accounting for staff cost when we did some of our costings and budgeting. So all of those things we accept are gaps, and that will certainly form part of any new strategy. But work did continue, and I'm proud to say that some of our best e-government services has been launched just recently. If you don't mind me saying, I just did the stats for what our customers has been saying about the services that we provide. So up until yesterday, we had, since we launched, and this goes back for 2 years, 26,000 customers has used our online services, and we have a Hopper rating of 72%. Now, I would love to see that a lot higher, but it is 72%. The new system that my office introduced, with a lot of assistance from e-government as project managers, they helped us to put that site operational. We have had 934 customers use the service for over a year, and we have a Hopper rating of 94%. So there is some really good systems being implemented across government with the assistance of the e-government unit.
Right. Thank you, sir. The Auditor General had identified that in 2015, a draft strategy was done, but it was never finalized, and then you move on to a revised strategy in 2021. Couldn't both documents have been kind of merged together to come up with a strategy that would have been in place now? And to also continue, it was mentioned earlier by one or two of the other witnesses in terms of possibly being able to outsource some of this work, but doesn't the minister have policy advisors that could assist the e-government unit with doing this work instead of going out and spending the public's money like that?
So, yeah, we have lots of policy advisors, and yes, there is some highly capable and talented people in the e-government unit, but I can tell you, they have their hands full. They are dealing with one of the recommendations from the Auditor General is having sort of a one-stop shop portal. I have seen the demonstration. It is absolutely amazing. It's going to transform the way people use the government's website. So it is state-of-the-art. So they have a team that's working non-stop on that project. They also have a team working non-stop on the national ID card. They have a team assisting other departments in their work. So yes, I can always crack the whip and get things done, but I want to make sure that we get a good product. And we've all recognized how important e-services are. We want to get it right. So to the member's question, I really want to focus on getting it right. It may mean that it may take a bit longer. It may mean that we may need outside expertise, maybe not. But I want to focus on getting it right so that we deliver a strategy that meets the policy priorities of the elected government, but also it's what our customers want. We should be providing the services the way our customer wants, not how we think they should want, but how the customer wants. So, developing a strategy that encompasses all of those things is a big deal, and it's a lot of work. So I don't want to say here, Mr. Chairman, that it will be done by this particular date, because I know how difficult it is to get those strategies done.
Thank you, sir. I'm glad you mentioned that you say you don't want to do it by a particular date, because based on what you said that the e-government unit is immersed with, are you comfortable that they're going to get that done in Q1 2023 like they said here today?
Hopeful, yes. Comfortable, I'm not sure. Listen, I have great confidence in the team there. You would have heard from the acting chief officer, Ms. Tamara Ebanks, who has jumped in and been doing a great job there. I'm sure you heard from Mr. Tibbetts, highly capable Caymanians doing a really great job for us. Certainly I will provide whatever support I can in terms of leadership from my office, but I If they say they can deliver, I certainly will support it. Am I comfortable that we can be done within that period of time? Maybe I'm not that comfortable.
I too want to acknowledge those two staff members you called up, because I know that they're brilliant at what they do, sir. Just out of curiosity, the steering committee that you led, what was the reason why it just kind of just dropped? What was the rationale why it didn't continue?
But like I said, there was an election happened, and as you know, during elections, things change. So I think the e-government unit moved. The minister, I think, wanted to move in a certainly champion e-government, but wanted to do things a little differently. And I want to make sure that I get the point across. What the minister, what the government of the day was very keen to do, and I am glad that that was the priority, was to fix our cybersecurity systems. So that, I think, that, as much as anything else, also contributed to things slowing a bit.
Thank you, sir. And let me ask you another comfort question then. Are you confident that these cybersecurity issues are fixed, that we can move forward without any further delays to the other projects that's currently on the table?
Yes, sir, I'm comfortable with that. Now, I must preference what I just said, is that, you know, no system, I think, is 100% secure.
No, it's not.
We are getting attacked at all, you know, all the time. You've heard some of the big companies in the world get hacked, but have we dramatically improved our cybersecurity? Yes. You know, before we never had a cybersecurity unit. We never had a chief, someone in charge of cybersecurity. We now have all of that. So we are in a much better place to be able to combat cybersecurity.
Thank you, sir.
Not combat cybersecurity, but to enhance our cybersecurity.
But you're fighting against it too.
Yes, yes.
I don't have any more questions on that, but I'm going to move on to the assessment against the UN's criteria for e-government programs. We know that the government aspires to be a world-class civil service, and you have noted that on many occasions,
yes, sir,
publicly and privately as well. And therefore needs to understand how it compares against the best performing countries in this aspect, the e-government aspect. The United Nations had identified 19 criteria to determine the advancement of a country's e-government programs. And in response to recommendation 5, the government said that it would consider the extent to which the United Nations criteria can inform the development of a government-wide e-government strategy. Can you elaborate on the government aspirations then to align with the global best practices and the relevance of that United Nations criteria in developing this strategy that we've been all talking about?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman. Yes, sir, through you. Mr. Chairman, you know, I was pleased to note that the Auditor General did recognize that the government compares well against the top 20 online services provided by governments globally. So that's something that we should be proud of. But, you know, we shouldn't just be, you know, top 20. We should be some of the best. Why not? We have proven that we can be world-class in a number of areas. This is one area that I think we can really lead on. We've already seen that. To digress just for a second, I was talking to one of my counterparts, and you know, they were saying that, you know, they're where they operate, and this is not another overseas territory, this was another country. They have to line up for about 3 hours starting at 6 o'clock in the morning to be able to license their car. You know, you can now do that from the comfort of your home using online services. So we have made tremendous progress. So yes, we don't have a strategy at the moment, but I think in the management response, I committed that I would issue to the e-government unit and other CIG entities engaged in the development of e-government services, a sort of interim guidance as to how they should operate. And in that interim guidance, I will definitely then look at what the UN guidelines are. Also look at the helpful guidance provided by the Auditor General. And I committed to make sure that I issued that guidance by the end of this year, and that is on track to be delivered. So I want to assure the committee that we have taken the recommendations of the Auditor General seriously, that yes, we don't have a overarching policy at the moment, but I will issue very shortly guidance, which I think will help guide civil service entities as to how they should go about launching or procuring, or what they should take into account when they are going to be doing e-services. One of those things is measurement, for example. So, I should be able to say at any given point, how well our customers, what are the customers, how do they feel about our services? And that was something that I did early on. I talked to Mr. Tibbetts and got him to help push that new services coming online had a way for the customers to measure, to say how they felt about our services. And that's very important, because as I said earlier, we want to hear from our customers and make sure that we are providing the services the way the customer wants, not how we feel they should be, how we should serve them.
Thank you, sir. Just for the record, I want to say I think that the e-government team is doing a fantastic job with some of the initiatives they've rolled out. Mm-hmm. So I just want to say thanks to that team as well, sir.
So thank you, and I endorse that 100%.
We turn next to performance and value for money. So I turn to Ms. Connolly for that line of questioning. Page 19. My apologies, I've got it wrong. I skipped a page. Need to talk now about the governance arrangements for e-commerce, for the e-government program. Over to you, Ms. Connolly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Deputy Governor, I know you mentioned that you were the co-chair for the steering committee.
It's chair.
You were the chair.
Yeah,
okay.
maybe co-chair.
And you may have mentioned this earlier, I'm not sure, but is there any indication whether that steering committee will be established again?
Mr. Chairman, through you, I'm not aware of that. I know we will need to have a steering committee to oversee the development and to development of the strategy, and to make sure that it is fit for purpose and value for money and all those other key governance issues. But the short answer to your question is I don't know at the moment, ma'am.
It appears that no other formal governance and oversight arrangements were put in place after the steering committee ceased to function in 2017. We note that governance arrangements will be considered as part of the new government-wide e-government strategy development. Can you indicate to us what governance arrangements have been put in place since April 2017, including who currently provides oversight for the e-government program?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. Mr. Chairman, the Auditor General did highlight the need for business cases, and she did note that there was improvement in that area, and my job is to make sure that that continues to improve. So number one is to, big thing of governance is to ensure that there are proper business cases for all our projects on e-government. So that is now standard practice across the service. We have invested a lot of time and effort in training our staff on the development of business cases. And the take-up has been really good, Mr. Chairman. We have a lot of civil servants now wanting to understand how business cases are developed and understand the need for those business cases. And I keep telling persons, you know, you wouldn't build a house without house plans, right? So let us not start a project without having a plan that identifies what our risks are and the various options that we can have. So that approach, again, with the assistance of the Auditor General, she has been banging on about this for a long time. The culture in the service has changed in terms of the need for business cases. So that's number one. Number two is, as I said earlier, is that I intend to issue some interim guidance to the civil service entities. And in that guidance, I will certainly ensure that I will speak about some of the governance arrangements that are needed before we embark on e-services or the setting up of e-services.
So, Deputy Governor, what assurances you can give this committee, the PAC committee today, that governance arrangements will be included into the new government-wide e-government strategy, and what would the new governance arrangements look like?
Okay, so, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Chairman, I can give those assurances that that governance arrangements will form an integral part of the new strategy. Now, what exactly they're going to look like, I'm not sure I can answer that now, but certainly all of the key governance factors that we take into consideration will be in that strategy. So one of the key things is risk. What are the risks around this particular project? The value for money, the very important point that the Auditor General raised in terms of costing. You know, we were not counting our staffing cost before. I think that's very, very important. So I think we have a really good document here in the report that can help guide us in setting up the strategy and making sure that we have the governance arrangements that are necessary.
Thank you, Deputy Governor. Moving on to governance framework for e-government projects. I noted what you indicated a while ago, that you would be providing guidance for e-government projects. The Auditor General recommended that the Major Projects Office governance framework for major capital projects could be adapted for IT and e-government projects. However, that recommendation was not accepted. What is your view on the Major Project Office's governance framework, and if it can be adapted for government and IT projects?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Chairman, I think the framework, the governance framework that the major capital projects has is a good one. I agree with the Auditor General. The e-government unit had a different view on that. So I have spoken with the two chief officers involved. I think they were here earlier, and asked them to please. So the chief officer responsible for the Major Capital Projects Office and the chief officer responsible for e-government, to just have a look at that again and look to see how we can work together to deliver the best, the best framework that we can possibly introduce. I don't like to reinvent the wheel. If there's something that works, then let's stick with that. So I've asked them to revisit that, and certainly the chief officers have agreed.
And I would say, Deputy Governor, thank you for that assurance, because I think it's well worth it.
Yes.
We had the discussion here at length in the morning with regard to it, that, you know, what you have there is a framework, and it ought to be able to be adapted, something everyone in government's familiar with.
Yes.
You don't need something new if you can take what you got, adjust for it,
Yes.
and move forward. So I really appreciate that assurance.
Thank you, sir.
Turn out to Mr. Rankin.
Thank you, sir. The Auditor General stated that it's important that we learn from our behaviors, the lessons learned, and understood that and document so that future projects and team members can benefit from them. How widely lesson learned reports are currently shared across government?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Chairman, I remember reading our Auditor General's report quite some time ago, in which she highlighted the importance of skills transfer as part of our procurements and as part of our projects. And I've really taken that on board, because what my whole vision for the civil service is about empowering our people, training them up so that they can perform their very best for the government of the day. So I think it is absolutely essential that any government project that we do, which is outsourced, there must be a knowledge transfer component there, where our teams can be exposed, they can learn, and then they can take that back to their colleagues and share it across. I think that you asked me how well it is being done at the moment. Certainly not as well as I would like it to be, but certainly over the next year, as we progress, as we change some of the way in which we do business, which I pointed out earlier, I think you will see it happening on a regular basis.
So in this particular case, for e-government, what are some of the actions that can be taken now to share those while we're waiting on the strategy to be developed?
Right. So one of the things, like I said, is the issuance of our interim policy. So that interim policy will be shared, interim guidance, I think we call it. That will be shared across the civil service, and that immediately will give civil servants good knowledge as to how they should approach e-government projects. And like I said, we have training ongoing at all times across the service, whether it's business case training, whether it's project management training, which is actually going on right now. With, staff in my office are engaged with that. So we are constantly doing everything we can to upskill civil servants. And I'm pleased to say, Mr. Chairman, that we can offer the services, but it's up for the staff to take up the services. And I'm very pleased that a lot of our training opportunities that we're providing are sometimes oversubscribed. So people are hungry for training, and we are providing it. Because we do want to, in addition to the knowledge transfer, we want to also develop from outside projects. We also want to build the capacity from inside as well.
Thank you, sir. You're committed to establishing a cross-ministry working group to deliver guidance on third-party risk management within the government by the third quarter of 2023. Can you report on the progress in establishing that cross-ministry working group to develop the guidance on the effective third-party risk management?
Yes. So that is ongoing. I mean, Mr. Chairman, through you, we are super busy. It is a lot going on in the civil service. So I have probably 1.5 persons right now that all they're doing is working on Auditor General reports to make sure that when the Auditor General does her next round of how well are you complying, that we can say we are actually making great progress. So, but that then takes someone away from something else that should be happening within the service. So would I have liked this policy to have been done, the risk management to be done a lot earlier? Yes, but I want it to be done good. I have to sort of prioritize the work that we're doing. I want to make sure that the work of the Auditor General is taken seriously, that we can continue to make good progress, because, Mr. Chairman, if there's one thing that I've learned during my 10 years as Deputy Governor, is that if you accept the Auditor General makes a recommendation and you accept it, if you implement it, then some of the issues that you're having or some of the troubles that you're having that then puts you in giving the Auditor General more ammunition to come at you with. If you had just simply done the recommendation that she told you to do 3 years ago, some of the issues that she's raising today might not have happened. One of those key lessons for me was the Major Capital Projects Office that we're talking about now. That had been recommended years ago, but it took us far too long to put it in place. But now that it's in place, you're now seeing government projects being managed much better, proper project management in place, proper business cases. We are now talking about using their governance framework to guide other civil service projects and programs. So I want to make sure, as head of the civil service, that we implement the recommendations of the Auditor General in a timely manner, but it is a lot of work involved. There are many reports out there that we're trying to manage. And of course, in doing that, we still have our elected officials that we need to keep happy to make sure that we are delivering on their priorities. So it's a mixer, and it can be challenging at times to get that balance right. So to the member's question, would I have liked it to be better than 2023? Yes, but I wouldn't want to make a promise that I can't keep. So not much work has been done in that regard, sir, but you have certainly my undertaking that if it can be done sooner, it will be.
Thank you, sir. That's all my questions now.
Ms. Connolly?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Moving on to performance and value for money. The Auditor General's report stated that the e-government unit had made significant progress in developing the National Identity Register and ID card project. And I know the focus has been on this, as well as the cybersecurity. However, the project requires primary legislation before it can be introduced, which is expected to be presented to Parliament later in 2022, which is our next meeting.
Right.
We did have the chief officers undertaken that would be the case. Can we have your undertaking as well, that this will be on the agenda for our next meeting of Parliament?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, through you, Mr. Chairman, I certainly have not gotten a update as to where specifically we are with the legislation. I get regular updates on things happening across the service. As the acting chief officer told you, that is the target, and I think I can't say exactly what she told the committee, but if she gave the committee the assurance that it would get to cabinet and certainly to this parliament in December, then I have great confidence in her, and I have no reason to doubt what she's saying. Can I give that assurance? I will certainly do my best to make sure it happens.
I think when you look at the committee here today and everyone across, we're all looking forward to that project coming to fruition. I believe you are as well. So I think everyone's on the same page with regard to seeing the project finally come to become a reality.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I couldn't agree more. I actually have seen what a card would look like. I've seen its capabilities. It's going to be a really great thing for our island. Everyone having a card, and so I think more important than anything else, the idea of who is a Caymanian and who is not goes away. So that in itself, not having our people having to send letters to work or send applications to work to prove that I'm a Caymanian, one of the benefits of that card is that should go away. That it will say whether you're a Caymanian or non-Caymanian on the card. That in itself will be transformative. So we're all looking forward to that, sir.
Thank you, Deputy Governor, because I know every day I have constituents coming to me that are Caymanians, but it's like, why do we have to complete this document to say that we're a Caymanian when we're born, our parents are Caymanians? So I think that in itself would really make them happy, as well as the whole the Cayman Islands. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
We're now going to move on to customer involvement in designing and testing of online services. And I'm going to turn to Ms. Catherine Wilkes to lead that line of questioning. She's also going to question you two, sir, on the monitoring of customer feedback and complaints and a single website for all government online services. So a number of topics that she'll just cover with you without my intervention.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Deputy Governor.
Good afternoon.
My question relates, as the Chair said, in relation to customer involvement in the online services. The government needs to have a clear understanding of the customer's views, including what they want and need from an online system. The Auditor General's report stated that departments were not routinely consulting customers before developing new online services. In response to the AG's recommendation, the e-government unit stated that although it generally suggests customer testing, it cannot force business owners to comply with customer testing. The e-government unit also did not comment on the recommendation to involve customers in the design of the online services. Would you be able to share with this committee your thoughts on how the government can ensure that customers are involved in the design of all current and future online services?
Mr. Chairman, I would want to give this committee 100% assurance. Certainly, any guidance that I issue to the civil service will include a mandate that we consult our customers when developing e-services. That is fundamental. As I've been saying here for the last 45 minutes, is that we have to provide the services the way the customer wants it to be provided. So I can use my office, for example. With the assistance of e-government, we launched our online service for naturalization, application for naturalization. With the advice of the e-government, we consulted our customers. So we went to a number of the agencies that submit applications to us. We consulted with them. We then did testing with them in terms of, can you submit a few applications? Let's see how it's going. Give us your feedback. But they were involved in, I believe, every aspect of the system. What it would look like in terms of its functions, the information that needed to be asked for, how in that format, how user-friendly the pages were, could things be auto-populated. So I think it's absolutely fundamental that we hear from our customers. One of our big purpose and priority is to make the service to our customers at the heart of everything that we do, because the government of the day asks us to provide services to our customers, and we want to make sure that we do that in a way that the customers feel happy. I'll just say this, and if you like, I can read a couple of the customers' feedback that we have received. But we were recently transforming the DVDL department and website. And the lady who was leading the transformation, she met with me and she says, Deputy Governor, what would you like to see? What would be the outcome, a good outcome of this transformation of DVDL? And I said, well, I would like to look forward to licensing my car. I don't look forward to it at the moment, but if we do this transformation right, maybe I will look forward to licensing my car. And the transformation was completed a few months ago, and I went in to license my car. I tested the system, so I drove up to DVDL. I waited 16 or 17 minutes to get my car inspected. They said, Mr. Manderson, you can go inside, or you can complete the transaction online. I went online, and I licensed my car in 9 minutes. And the next day, I got my registration information. So I now look forward to licensing my car. And that's how I think our services should be. With that purpose in mind, is to make our customers happy and allow them to do a lot of their business with government from the comfort of their home or at their desk without even attending a government office. That's really what I think we should be aspiring to do. I read recently that one of Amazon's key success factors is how many customers don't contact them. So, if you never hear from your customer, but they are certainly using your services, maybe that's a good thing because they're all happy. So, we normally don't contact you unless we're unhappy. So, I think we must, to answer the member's question, very good question, we must put the customer at the heart of everything we do when we are designing our online services.
Thank you, Deputy Governor. Just to follow up on that, then, I know that you have the portals where you collect feedback, but is there also a mechanism in place on how the government can collect the data and act upon it for online services, pending a government-wide e-government strategy?
So at the moment, Mr. Chairman, sorry. So at the moment, yes. So individual websites have feedback. And that feedback don't just come to myself. It goes to the agencies themselves. So every morning, the head of DVDL will get a report to say, here is how your in-person customers responded, and how did your online customers responded. And it allows me, as head of the civil service, to identify pain points. So right now, the top pain point on online services is the work website. That's where we're getting the vast majority of our complaints. And of course, the chief officer responsible is now finalizing the revamping of that website. But we know it is not working the way it should be because customers tell us so. And you pay attention to what the customers say. So having that ability for customers to feedback should be part of any strategy that we put out, that you can easily say how well the service worked, and they should be part of the design of the service as well.
Thank you very much. It's assuring to know that the customer feedback is going to be implemented in this process. I just have, I think it's just one more question in relation to this one is the single website for all of government's online services. The Auditor General has highlighted in Appendix 3 of the report that the government currently provides over 60 online services. However, not all government online services are available through a single website. In the e-government unit's response to the recommendation, it stated that it is not the business owner for all government online services and therefore cannot force entities to enroll in this service. So I was just curious as in relation to any steps that the government intends to take to ensure that all entities enroll in on their online service. Sorry, any steps the entities take to enroll their online services into the government e-services or the My eGov portal.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Chairman, about, I think 2 weeks ago, I got a very quick demonstration on our new web portal for government, which is exactly what the Auditor General recommended that we put in place, is a single site where you go on and do all your government businesses. And I must say, I was super impressed by what I saw. It is advanced, it is state-of-the-art. It allows you, so for example, I hope I'm not stealing any of their thunder, but for example, once you go on and you register, because we already have so much of your information there. So for example, if you go on to the website and you register for work, then it is you can then easily access some of the other services that are available, and also that you can get a reminder that, listen, it's time to register to license your car. So it is something that is going to be very interactive, and I think it's going to transform the way in which persons do business with government. So to the member's question, I think in the not too distant future, we will be launching a new website that fits very much in line with the Auditor General's recommendation. And while the e-government can't force departments to be part of it, then that's part of my remit. So certainly any guidance, any instructions that I issue, if we're going to be one government, then we must be one government, and everyone should be part of that new portal. So that's my responsibility.
Thank you very much, Deputy Governor. I don't have any further questions in this area.
We're on a home stretch, sir.
So, no trouble at all.
Deputy Governor, throughout this report's examination of it, the capturing of costs of the e-government unit has been one issue that seemed come through quite clearly. And I don't need to explain to you the importance that government needs to have systems in place to capture all the development costs and stuff. When you look at the external stuff, that's easy. It normally involves a payment, so yes, you can get it recorded. But it's the soft stuff, it's the internal resources that are used that where we seem to be falling down in, particularly capturing, the cost of human resources in working and developing, these types of services. In the report, in your response to the report, you committed to consult with the Ministry of Finance and others with a view to development government-wide guidance. Can you give the committee an update on the progress you might have made in developing the government-wide guidance for capturing all relevant costs of IT and e-government projects?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Chairman, that is something that I think we have to to get better at. That was a gap that the Auditor General highlighted in terms of capturing costs, the true cost. The staff costs, it was not something that we were doing. So that, my office is now working with the Minister of Finance. I'm just trying to see do we have a timeline for when we were going to do that? Was it quarter three? No, or quarter four?
Go ahead from Auditor General, quickly from the Auditor General's office. May shed some light.
Just to help you, DG, on page 82, your commitment was Q4 2023.
Okay, and that is around the cost?
That's on the
Okay.
consulting with Ministry of Finance to develop guidance on relevant project costs.
Okay, so yes, so that is something that we do need to progress. I'll look at that timeline again, Mr. Chairman, because obviously it's very important. And certainly in a guidance that I issue going forward will have that requirement in that we look at the cost, including staff costs. So yes, while we may not have the comprehensive policy in place until next year, what I'm issuing this year will make sure that we provide guidance so that persons will address that concern.
Okay, so I do believe that the tools are there for the capturing of the data.
Yes, sir.
You know, it really needs just push to get people to comply and just record the timing and stuff like that.
Absolutely,
Yes,
sir.
yeah. That was the only question I had for you, Deputy Governor. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the conclusion of this hearing here today. We are ending exactly on time, which is quite unusual for us, I think. But I thank you, Deputy Governor, for attending today and for the candid way in which you've answered all the questions. I do take a lot of comfort from the assurances and stuff that you have provided for us here today. And I thank you for your candidness as well. So.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Chairman, if you would just give me 1 minute, I think it's important that I could just leave you with one thing that just happened yesterday. And it speaks to the importance of e-services. So we had a Caymanian who found out yesterday that there was an issue with his police record, and he had to get everything redone, but he had to leave the island at 12 o'clock today. Last night, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, he applied for his police clearance, and he's on the flight today. He left the island today. So if anything can show to us that e-services worked, the fact that at 9 o'clock last night, he was able to apply for his police record and able to catch a flight at 12 o'clock today, I think that shows, sir, that our systems are working. We are not perfect. The Auditor General has highlighted a number of areas where we need to get better in, but I want to assure the committee that the e-services that we have now, some of them are working very, very well and is helping our people. Thank you.
Thank you too, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all a very pleasant afternoon. Thank you all for your patience too and for your participation today. And I wish you a pleasant day and weekend when it does come tomorrow. So thanks again to everyone.